are not a failure in your business. You are not a failure if you haven't figured out how to scale it. You are not a failure if you haven't figured out how to leverage it. You are not a failure if you haven't hit your income goals. You are not, because you are out there doing something that most people will never even try. You are already the glorious exception because you stepped out and started running this business. You started playing this game of business where most people are too scared to even try. Hi, I'm Sarah Greener. Welcome to the Moxie Movement. I'm your host, and we are going to dive into this pressure that we put on ourselves to meet other people's expectations in our business, particularly around sales and revenue goals. And I think a lot of this comes out of the fact that we live in a world now where there are people all over the internet selling you, make $10,000 a month, make 7 figures fast, get yourself to $30,000 fast. They're selling all of this speed to a sales or a revenue number. And they are constantly talking about how do you scale it? How do you leverage it? And that's great, but it's not where you start. You have to start with the fundamentals. If you are delivering a product or a service, you are going to have to make it and sell it to a small number of people, create it and have a number of people engage in your service and have a good experience before they go to the next level. You're not going to come right out the gate and immediately be scaling your business because you don't know what works and what doesn't work. I was having this conversation the other day on a coaching call, and this particular woman was beating herself up because she hadn't figured out what was the leveraged version of her business yet. And she hadn't even been in her business 12 months yet. Like, she's doing amazing. She's turned over more than 6 figures. She is helping to financially support her household and ensure that her family and her partner can do the things that they want to do. She's just doing awesome. And yet she's right there beating herself up because she hasn't figured out how she can serve more people in less time in her first 12 months in business. Now, I'd love to tell you there's a magic wand to this. There just isn't. There is an element of learning that you need to do in those first months, I'm going to even say years in business, where you're figuring out what works and doesn't work in terms of the product and the service. Now, I would love it if you all came into business and you went, I'm going to build the foundations really solidly, and I am going to build my systems out, and I'm going to make sure I'm really deliberate with my time, and then I'm going to hire smart as I go step by step. But the reality is most of us don't do that. And the reason for that is when you first go out into business, you are hungry. And the thing that you're hungry for is cash. You sell anything to anyone with a pulse that will buy from you. You have not got the deliberate thought around who do I want to work with? What am I trying to build? You have either left employment or left career or left a relationship, and you need money now to deliver on life. You've got a household to run, you've got people to feed, you've got kids to clothe. So your very first instinct often is to go out and exchange your time for money. And you either do that by providing a service where you might be charging by the hour, whether you're being a lawyer, an accountant, doing some design, providing some form of PR service. There's a million things you can do in the service game. Or you might go out and you might develop a product and you buy a product or you add value to a product, and you are going to sell enough units of that to generate an income. But that's taking your time, adding value to it, and selling it on to someone else. Either way, you as the business owner and the leader of this organization is going to have to invest your time and trade your time for some money. You're going to create some value. Someone else is going to give you some value back in the form of money. And when you do that, you learn some things. You learn what works, what doesn't work. You learn what gets your customers or your clients the right result, the right outcome, the right experience. When we first got into the Rock, we bought an existing business. We were able to spend 12 months doing what the previous owners had done because we bought an existing business. What was there already worked. Were there things we could make better? Could we leverage it? Could we scale it? Could we grow it? Absolutely. And we didn't do it in the first 12 months, even buying an existing business, because there's so much to learn in those early days. What I would say to you is don't beat yourself up. You are learning, you are growing. And if you have managed to get yourself to a position where you're able to feed yourself and your family, from your own efforts without a salary, you are doing amazing, and you are not failing just because you haven't figured out how to scale it or leverage it. And I think that we get caught up in the stories of these people that have become unicorn businesses where they worth $1 billion or they've turned over $1 billion. And I think those stories are really exciting and really inspiring. Often the true story is not told of how many times they stood these products up or stood these services up and they failed. They only start being talked about when they have made the success. At this event in Las Vegas, and they had the Airbnb founders come and talk, and they spoke about how now everyone talks about this unicorn that is Airbnb, and they don't talk about the fact that they actually started it 5 or 6 times, I think. And I think the first time they launched it, they had 10 people use it, and the second time they launched it, they had 20 people use it, and the third time they launched it, 100 people used it. They had multiple tests and iterations of how the service would operate before they could put it out in the form that it is today. And now you have this business that generates billions of dollars, but it started from something that had to be tested and tried. There were years of work that went in behind the scenes before it actually became this massive disruptor in the tourism space. And we forget about all of that. These big companies are small businesses that just started and kept going despite the failures. When I hear people get despondent because they haven't figured out what the leverage points are in their business yet, I get really frustrated. And I get frustrated because they are watching these stories and people are only sharing half the picture, if we're lucky. They're not talking about all the times where they had to test things and try it out, or they are doing all the hours, working loads and loads of hours, and that's how they're able to get so much done. You have to have the whole picture before you can judge yourself, compare yourself to someone else. And your journey is going to be different than everyone else's. You have to figure out what works for you. When you are ready, when you have got, hey, here's the service I want to offer, here's the product I want to offer, then you can start to think about, how do I deliberately start to grow, scale, leverage this business? I don't have to keep doing all of the work and just exchanging time for money, because ultimately you can make more and more money exchanging time for money by charging a higher and higher hourly rate. But fundamentally, that is not a business. That's being self-employed, generating more and more value from the time that you invest, and it's not super leverageable or scalable. Like, you can't go away on holiday and the business still generates money, which is what we want to build in a business. We want to build something that operates independently from us when we want it to. The very first thing we always do is we look at, where is your time going? What are you investing your time on? Because sometimes the simplest solutions are the best. And we always look for complex things, like, how am I going to build a new product that serves one to many? How am I going to build my course, build my program? When actually, if you come back and look at the fundamentals, it's like, where is your time going, and what's using up more of your time than it should when it's not generating any income? It's the administration, it's the invoicing, it's the accounts, it's the back end stuff that drives your business that is not generating a sale. And you need to look at that and go, are there ways that I can do this smarter? And we do this in order inside the Moxie movement. We go, look at your time, and then we build the systems, and then we leverage with other people. And in between that, when we look at the systems, there's often a piece that we can do with technology before we employ people or we contract people to do work. And the reason that we do it in that order is because sometimes just systemizing what you do is going to give you back so much time. Like, perfect example of this one is when we took over The Rock, everything was organized, and they had these kind of copy and paste email responses, like, where should I park my car? Copy and paste and send that email response. And it was reasonably slick, but it could be much slicker. When we started getting all those questions, we started building out these FAQs that we could start to send people to. And now we do them as in video format, because that's the easiest and most effective way to tell people where they need to park, or where can they leave their stuff for overnight, or what time does the cruise leave? Like, we would get the same questions over and over again, and that takes up your time. First of all, we looked at how could we do this smarter in the system. And then the second thing is like, how can we now automate that so that when someone ask that question, the system can automatically give them the answer. And then from there, then we start looking at the next layer where we go, okay, now we've built out a system. It's making it faster for me to do it. What would be better is if I didn't have to do it ever again, and now I can delegate that system to someone else. For most people in business, that's not the order we do it in. For most people, we work and work and work and work, and we get ourselves tapped out in terms of our time, and they go, oh, next step is employ a human being to come and do the work. And I'm just going to teach them how to do it, hand it off. That's what we do. We employ someone, we hand off the work, we teach them one time, and then we get annoyed that they're not doing it. That's your other point of leverage. Looking at those things is really important. And then the last piece that we start to look at is how can we deliver this product or this service in a smarter, more leveraged way? And again, I always come back to the Rock because it's a easy one to talk about. It's our tourism boat. We were selling that to individuals one by one, what we call free independent travelers. We're saying you can buy a space on this boat for one person for this amount of money. Now, that worked. And it required a lot more efforting, a lot more time from the business owners and the team on the boat than when we went, well, what happens if we talk to one person and sell 20 seats or 30 seats or 40 seats on the boat? That's a way that we can leverage selling this product. You can start to think about that further down the track. And you want to have really good systems and processes in place, and you want to have a team that knows the systems run the business and they just have to follow the system before you do that. All of this to say, you are not a failure. You are just trying to do chapter 26 when you're at chapter 2. Don't compare someone else's chapter 26, 72, 134. Don't compare your chapter 2 to theirs. Because you will come unstuck. You will start beating yourself up. You will find yourself wanting and getting into that spiral of I'm not doing enough makes you want to work harder. It gets you busier and gets you stuck in that spiral again of working harder rather than thinking about it deliberately and going, how can I do this smart? You are not a failure. You are doing awesome. Just like this client on the call the other day, she's doing amazing. In that first 12 months in business to have generated 6 figures of sales already, that's fantastic. And now she wants to step by step think about how can she use her time smarter, how can she build tools out that will help her do this in a quick, fast, easy way, and then how can she employ someone else to execute the systems on her behalf, to execute the tools on her behalf, and that's how she's going to scale and leverage it. This is not get to 7 figures fast by working all the hours and hustle and grinding. There is no shortcut. You have to go through 100,000 to get to 200,000, to get to 500,000, to get to $1 million. There is, unless you're buying an existing business that already has a level of sales in it, if you are starting from scratch, that is the only way through. If you are looking at other people's sales and revenue goals, for starters, it's an ego metric. It's not the one that you want to be watching. You want to be watching what's left over after you've done all of that work. But if you're looking at other people going, oh, I can't scale a leverage to that because I can't exchange enough time to get that much money, it's okay. You have time and you are going to get there. You don't need to be scaling, leveraging like that in your first 12 months. You've got learnings to have. And without those learnings, you're going to build $1 million business on shaky foundations. And it is very easy to get to those numbers and then go, I hate this. I hate this because I'm working too hard. I hate this because it's coming before everything else that matters to me. Whereas here at the Moxie Movement, when we want to make sure you build a really strong, solid business that not just serves you as the business owner and the business leader, but also as the mum of your children, as the partner to your husband or wife, as the family member that you want to be, and looks after you as well as a human being, because you are really good at sacrificing yourself to put all those other things before you. We want to put you first so that you can be great at all those other things. So you are not a failure. You are doing awesome. And just in case you needed that reminding, you have done an amazing job. I want you to look back on what you've achieved so far. Freaking celebrate it. In fact, I'm going to challenge you to do that weekly, because you're going to skip over it and be like, oh, but I'm not at this person yet, putting them up on a pedestal and putting yourself down in the pit. You've done great just to get started. You've done great to get to the sales point, and I cannot wait to see what you're going to build next. Slow down, enjoy the wins, celebrate the wins. You will get there. Leverage, scale, growth, it comes with time. Small, consistent actions over time, is a much more sustainable and, I will dare I say it, fun way to build. Until next time, stay moxie.